Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us here once again. It's only just now that we have recovered from eating the hottest chilies on the planet. If you haven't seen that video, please go and watch it because it's one of the funniest things you'll ever see in your life, but also kind of disgusting. Have you recovered?
Not emotionally, no.
Fairs. Well, let's cheer ourselves up because today we have set ourselves an almost impossible task. We are trying to work out who is the best Doctor Who companion of the Revival series. Now, we were going to do Classic, but that would take a long time. We'll probably do Classic in another video where, it's because doing them all at once is going to be a long old job.
Yeah.
So we're focusing literally from Rose to Ruby and some very random ones in between looking at this tier list, but we're going to go with it. We're going to go for it. So let's just kick things off. Rose Tyler, where are we putting her?
I would put her great purely out of the fact that she's the one I grew up on.
Fair.
First. She had a really good run with Christopher Eccleston. I thought the relationship, when she got towards the end of series 2, she got very cocky. And I started to fall out of love with that duo. And then Doomsday and stuff happened and the cockiness got the better of her, and it was an emotional ending to a great story, to be fair. But yeah, that's why I put her in great, not best.
I think I'd be the same. I think if it was just Series 1 Rose, I maybe would put an argument for best. We should have mentioned that we've got 5 tiers. It goes from best, great, meh, bad, and scum.
Yeah.
So I would put Rose Series 1 in best, but there's a lot that Rose does even before the end of Series 2. I think the lovey-dovey stuff really gets a bit grating after a while, and she gets a little bit cheesy and a bit sort of like, oh, just shush a couple of times. I'm thinking of things like the Impossible Planet. So, well, we haven't got a Tesco either, but all of that sort of nonsense. I'm like, no, that's a bit annoying for me. Okay, so.
Yeah.
But I would agree. I think, best. Great is a pretty good spot to put Miss Tyler in. Okay, so disclaimer, we're talking about the character here, not Bruno Langley the actor, because if that was the case, he'd be in Scum, because he is Scum. But I would argue that Adam Mitchell kind of deserves to go in Scum anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you only see him for 2 episodes. You see him in Dalek and
The Long Game.
The Long Game, and in The Long Game, I mean, in Dalek, he's just like, he was better in Dalek than he was The Long Game, by far. He was a lot more tolerable in Dalek.
Yeah, I think that he works in Dalek as a sort of juxtaposition to sort of show Rose sort of like this is going to be what like the pretty boy sci-fi guy could be compared to the sort of mystical, rugged war hero that she's hanging around with. But yeah, the Long Game stuff. I mean, I find the Long Game. We put the Long Game bottom of our Ninth Doctor tier list. To be fair, it's just it just sort of plods along. It's a cool bit of setup for the finale, but that's all it's basically there to do. And it's Adam gets that sort of 2-episode arc of like the companion that couldn't be. And it's an interesting sort of dynamic to take, but yeah, I'm not a fan of Adam. I don't know if he'd necessarily go in Scum, but for me, he's definitely bad.
Yeah, definitely bad as well. Yeah. It's like he's the one who he just did something you should never do and just get overly caught up in what was going on.
Yeah.
And then he gets that thumb clicky thing in his head, the spike.
Yeah, he's also just a bit annoying.
Yeah,
regardless of all of that, he's kind of annoying. Yeah. Captain Jack, again, talking about the character here, not necessarily the actor. Jack is, a fan favourite for a reason, I think. He's a very sort of modern companion in terms of the idea of like, even for 2005 having this sort of like pansexual, futuristic hero, he's a bit of an action man. He's very much that sort of classic Who male character of like, I'm going to be the action man and all the stuff that the Doctor wouldn't do. So he's the sort of gun-tooting, sort of handsome rogue from the future.
Yeah.
And I think he's got that. I think as much as obviously there were issues with Barrowman on set, especially, the friction between him and Eccleston, I do like that dynamic of the Ninth Doctor and Jack quite well because there's also a mutual respect for them, like character-wise, I mean.
I mean,
and
you see it straight
into it.
You see it straight away in The Empty Child as well when they meet up in that and the Doctor dances.
Yeah.
They just bounce off each other really well as professionals, not obviously as friends. And like Jack was brilliant in Eccleston's series. I thought didn't see him in series 2 because he was off doing his Torchwoody stuff, and then you see him back in Utopia with Martha. Well. Yeah, and then we see him again in Utopia after his Eccleston run, and I think his dynamic with David Tennant is, I mean, it's still enjoyable. Yeah, I mean, just a testament to that, really. Even when he came back in Jodie's era, I was genuinely excited to see Jack back, and Unfortunately, he was just doing all the same shit he was basically with Eccleston. It was like he had the squareness gun back.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun like that. It felt very. It didn't feel like it was. I think there's a risk when you bring characters back after a while that they can sort of become a bit flanderized, or you sort of, don't really do it. It just felt like a very natural sort of Jack appearance. I do find it did kept bugging me that he kept going, "Oh, I'm immortal. I'm immortal, guys. I'm immortal. I'm immortal," and then we never actually see him die.
Yeah, I was upset at that.
There's a few missing from this list actually. Now I can think of it because there's no Dan.
We're including Dan anyway.
Yeah, Dan can go in best.
Yes. Just straight up there, Dan is great. Evil Dan would go even higher, but unfortunately, it's not a real thing.
Yeah. So Jack Harkness goes.
Great.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't put him best.
Yeah.
I'd say there's better on this list for best. I think.
Mickey Smith again. Talking about the character, not the actor, obviously Noel Clarke, scum. But the character of Mickey is an interesting one because he's got, I think, one of the strongest sort of arcs of a companion that we've had. I don't know why it's like sort of a companion.
It's alright, don't cry.
It doesn't work when you do.
Huh?
He goes from being that sort of weedy, scared, cowardly, like sort of to show, to sort of basically polarize Rose in terms of like, this is what you could have, this is what you've got. Like, do you want to have this wimpy sort of like scared boyfriend, or do you want to go off with this, mysterious traveller in space and time? Of course, he's going to pick the Doctor. But then it's not just left at that. Like Mickey sort of grows in development a little bit each time we see him. Aliens of London, he's helping hack the missiles and stuff, and then he gets a bit to do in Boomtown with the sort of chasing the Celine, and then plays a part in the TARDIS and everything. And then by the time Series 2 rolls around, he's sort of almost a secondary companion.
Yeah.
He gets those couple of trips in the TARDIS between School Reunion and the Age of Steel. And I think, I
think Age of Steel shows him in his best light. He really comes into his own in that.
Yeah, I think that's the one where he really sort of finds his feet as, I'm not a tin dog, I'm me, I'm Mickey. And then, obviously the finale to that series as well, he's big Mr. Action Hero by the end of it. By the last time we see him in Journey's End, he's pointing a gun in Davros's face.
Yeah, he would never have done that back in Rose. Never in a million years.
I think the arc works. I think, I don't know, there are parts of me that I do find him a bit annoying at times, especially earlier on. You sort of go, oh God, why is he being like this? He's
Eccleston era.
Yeah, a bit almost incel-y in a way. I mean, I get it. Like your missus has ran off with another man. Like fair enough. And obviously Noel Clarke, not the greatest human being alive. I don't know, meh.
Yeah, I was about to say meh.
I feel like Mickey's just a very straight down the middle. I don't really have any strong feelings either way.
No, I mean his story arc is great, but
yeah,
they done it really well. Not as well as they think they did Jackie's, to be fair.
Jackie, I think I wouldn't. I don't know. Like, see, I personally wouldn't include Jackie as a companion really, because I like to think of companions as people that are sort of travelled in the TARDIS, or at least take on that companion role for the episode. Whereas Jackie always feels quite like the sort of secondary. She's just on the outside looking in. And I think Jackie's hilarious. I think there's no denying that. Would I say she's in the same league as Rose and Jack though?
No,
I probably wouldn't.
No, I'd put her in there. She's definitely better than Adam.
Yeah, and even Jackie gets some development. She completely despises the Doctor at the start, and by the end comes to love him as well.
Yeah.
When she sort of sees the Doctor and Rose as this unit, and she's like, I'll protect them both, and all of that stuff. In Love and Monsters, I think Love and Monsters is Camille Kajuri's best performance on the show. I think she's fantastic.
She was incredible in that, to be fair.
Yeah, but again, I don't know if she's good enough to go in great, or...
I'd put her in meh. We can always... Yeah. I'll have a think.
Well, yeah, we can always rethink this. Come on, Jackie. Come on, Jackie. Move. There we go. Sarah Jane Smith, best, yeah?
Yeah,
cool.
Straight up. Martha Jones.
I mean, we don't even need to expand on why Sarah Jane's fantastic.
No,
Elizabeth Sladen is probably the most recognisable companion of at least the classic series. And
lovely callback for the classic fans as well during the revival.
Yeah, I think the dynamic of her and Tom Baker, I think, is what makes Sarah Jane... Because I think Sarah Jane is a great companion and fine with John Pertwee, but there's just that sort of lightning in a bottle energy with her and Tom Baker that you only see a couple of times throughout Doctor Who. You sort of see it with Patrick Troughton and Fraser Hines, or David Tennant and Catherine Tate. It's that sort of lightning. And even recently with Shooty and Millie, I think there's that sort of, that chemistry sometimes just fits so well. Yeah. But then separate her from Tom Baker, she's still great. She leads her own spin-off series right up until, like, God rest his soul, she passes away in real life.
Yeah.
I think I mean, Sarah Jane was such a huge part of so many people's childhoods, like not just our generation, but generations before who grew up with her the first time round. You know, and you don't get that without being the best of the best.
No, she is quality. She's, as you said, she is one of the main companions you think about when you talk Doctor Who. She's one of the most recognised, even among people who aren't fans of Doctor Who as well. Yeah. They know the name. Like, she's a household name.
Yeah, she's very synonymous with the sort of companion. I think if you were to ask people in the street, you know, can you name some Doctor Who companions, they'd name people like Rose or Sarah Jane or whatever, depending. It all depends on sort of what age they were when they were watching Doctor Who or really aware of it. Yeah, Martha then. Martha Jones. I would put a sort of strong request, I suppose, for her to go in best as well.
She does get done dirty in a series, big time.
She does, and I think for it to still be head and shoulders above that, and I think it's an absolute blessing that after having sort of all this shit thrown at her through the whole of the series through, not just because of the inventions, but because of the way the Doctor treats her at times, you know, it sort of has her as like the rebound companion.
Yeah.
It's for her to still come at the end of the day and save the world, and then leave him on her own terms and be like, nah, I'm tapping out.
Yeah.
And then, but still be not that tapping out as in like, oh my God, I can't ever see you again. Just going, no, I want to see you again, you know, and we'll catch up and everything. And, you know, if I need you, I'll call you.
Yeah.
But for the rest of like the day-to-day stuff, she's like, no, I'm my own person. I'm not defined by her attraction towards the Doctor.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think she does great stuff. I think she works when she comes back. I mean, she sort of gets her own sort of B-plot in The Doctor's Daughter. She sort of doesn't really feel like part of the main story in that, but still carries that on her own. And then also, you know, she has a little guest stint in Torchwood as well, where she's great, and she's an integral part of that trilogy that she's in, because it's the Owen Martha trilogy that works. It's some of the best bits of Torchwood there is. I mean, I think to have such a quite weak arc at the beginning and sort of have not her whole personality, but a large part of her sort of companion and her interest in travelling in the TARDIS to be, I fancy the bloke in the TARDIS, rather than I want to see the universe. I mean, there is an element of that to it, obviously. But that sort of infatuation, I think, is it's very sort of love story nonsense, but she still, I think Freema Agyeman carries it.
Yeah.
And then to still come out on top of that series anyway, I think, that'd be my argument anyway.
No, I'm inclined to agree with you. Her work, especially in Human Nature and Family of Blood, was incredible. She carried those 2 episodes on her own. Even though you see the Doctor in there, it's still very Doctor-light as well, because obviously the Doctor's become human, and her work in that was just sublime.
I agree.
That for me, just those 2 episodes alone are enough to put her up into best. So,
Kylie, Astrid Peth.
She got annoying on rewatch.
I mean, look, I get it. It's Christmas, a bit of stunt casting, have a bit of a laugh. Yeah, fair enough. Why not? Why not go, oh, do you know what? Doctor Who's so big now, we can get Kylie for a Christmas special. But, saying that, she's very one note. Astrid's character is the quirky sort of female, like, potential companion that fancies the Doctor and then doesn't, and because obviously they couldn't get Kylie for a whole series, and that was never on the cards anyway. She gets killed off, but I don't think she's particularly good in it.
No, she's a better singer. Much better singer.
And even then, that's...
that's harsh.
I'm just not a Kylie. I mean, she's got some bangers, I'll give her that, to be fair, and, you know, she's done better than I ever will as a pop star. But as an actor, as a Doctor Who actor, as a companion, I'm inclined towards bad. Sorry, Kylie. Don't hurt me. Donna Noble.
It's best. Again, no shadow of a doubt.
We'll sort of pick one of the best from these when we get there. But yeah, I mean, again, considering Catherine Tate has absolutely no idea what's going on during any point of her time in Doctor Who, you can't tell.
No.
And I think there was a lot of people that would have been sceptical about having such a sort of well-known sort of comedic actor. She's not sort of necessarily a comedian as in like a stand-up comedian, but she's a comedic actress. Was doing comedy shows. She had her own sketch show at the time. And I think you sort of go, again, is this just a little bit of that stunt casting element? Is this sort of get a big name? And I know that originally she was only supposed to be in a Christmas special, but then You know, I think there is something about Donna that works, and there's something about Donna that's a breath of fresh air in terms of, like, you have the romance with Doctor and Rose, it doesn't work. Then you have the unrequited love story with Martha, and then you get to Donna, and it's like, finally, a Doctor companion duo in this new series that are just pals. They're just really good. Like, they love each other friendly. You can tell that. It's not just a case of, like, oh, you're all right, you're my mate. Like, there is a deep platonic love there, but it never crosses into that romance thing. It's not even like it's a one-way, sort of like the Doctor might be like, really? And she's like, no, go away, spaceman. It's both very much like they've almost got too much respect for each other to do that. And again, Donna's arc is, I think, one of my favourites as well for a companion. I know it's a bit different now with the hindsight of the 60th anniversary specials, but even then, you know, that is very much the Donna that I would have imagined where Donna would be at 15 years after, like, Stolen Earth, Journey's End. You know, it feels natural for that to be that sort of fit.
Yeah, no, I agree. She was one of the strong points of Doctor Who's revival.
Yeah.
Series 4 was the best series of the revival, so up to that point.
It's the most popular, I think, generally.
Yeah,
I think
it's the one I go back to the most for a rewatch.
Yeah, because none of that Time Lord Victoria stuff would ever have happened if Donna was there.
Yeah.
You know, and because he's lost Donna, and not just like, she's not just dead, but it's like all of the things that she learned with him have gone, and she's just reverted back to that shouty, angry woman that we first see in The Runaway Bride. You know, that adds to the heartbreak of it a little bit. And it's quite nice now to look back and going, Donna and the Doctor are fine now. They've settled down. They've got, you know, this sort of bizarre family dynamic. Anyway then, so now we've got the sort of specials companions. We've started with Jackson Lake. David Morrissey, I think, was great in this. You know, there's a clear chemistry between him and Tennant, which I think goes back to when they worked together on, what was it called? Blackpool. I think it's a fun idea. It's a fun gimmick. It doesn't really extend past the one episode. I don't think there's, you know, I don't think many of the companions from the specials have got sort of legs in terms of the long term. I think the Jackson Lake gimmick is cool. But once you take that away and he becomes Jackson Lake, I don't really get a feel for who he really is. He's just like a nice Victorian bloke.
Yeah, he loves his family.
Yeah.
And sad that his wife died.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of, I don't really get the sort of longing for anything, or there's no sort of desire there. I think obviously when he gets his, you know, obviously he gets his son back, that's his obviously going to be his focus. But I think there's a bit of a shift in terms of, I think the David Morrissey character that thinks he's the Doctor is great, and I think David Morrissey would make a good Doctor. But I think the Jackson Lake, put that one on you. Or he'd also make a very good Master, actually.
Yeah. He's a great villain. Have you seen The Walking Dead?
I have seen some of The Walking Dead. I've seen the stuff with him in.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
He was such a good villain.
He's a right horrible little bugger.
Yeah. So, yeah, get him in as a Master. Why not? The episode itself wasn't amazing, but, meh. It'd probably be a right fit.
Lady Christina. Scum. She's a Tory. She's scum. Adelaide Brooke.
Fair.
I'm not
elaborating further. No.
Anyway, Captain Adelaide Brooke. I think Lindsay Duncan is fantastic in Waters of Mars. Lindsay Duncan's a fantastic actress anyway. I like the idea of having that slightly mature, I don't call it old because she's not old, but you know, she's older than the companions that we had by this point. You know, and I think that dynamic is quite interesting because you have this very strong, very headstrong authority figure that the Doctor's a bit fanboy of, but also he kind of needs to sort of chip away at her sort of defences to try and get her to trust him. I love that sort of dynamic. Again, I think Adelaide's, is the only one, with one exception that we'll get to in a minute, is the only companion that I could see from the special sort of as a long-term thing. I would quite like to see that sort of what happens when you take this really sort of headstrong authority figure and have someone who's a bit of a wild card like the 10th Doctor, especially at this point, you know, with sort of Time Lord Victoria stuff. And to see that sort of clash, I think, could have been really interesting. You know, I would almost like to see that as a dynamic, as a companion going forward, to not have the sort of arguing that you have when you think of like the 5th Doctor and Tegan or something like that. You want just that sort of, I think, the ability to stand up, because I think that's what's been lacking sometimes in the last decade or so. Not so much Clara, but maybe post Clara. There's a few companions there who don't really have the sort of like stand up. Can we put Captain Adelaide in great?
Yeah.
Sound.
She did a really good job, as you said, in Waters of Mars.
She just doesn't want to move. There we go.
It's one of my favourite specials of that time.
It's one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who, full stop.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It was brilliant. Really was brilliant.
Need I say any less?
No, best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wilfred Mott.
Bernard Cribbins himself. I mean, you know, I would have loved to have seen more of him throughout the whole show. I mean, just keep Bernard Cribbins there every episode, and I'd be satisfied. You know, it's one of those ones that you sort of like. Yeah, there is a bit of nostalgia blind into some of these, but I don't think there is with Wilf, because I think I can objectively sit back and go, this is a great character. It's such a cool dynamic to have, especially within that sort of Donna, Sylvia, Wilf family unit, to have the sort of relationship where Sylvia's like, God, this man, I don't like him, I don't trust him, I don't want him anywhere near us, and Wilf just being like enamored with him and being so chuffed for Donna to be like, yeah, go and see these things, go and do these amazing things because you have to, because why could you ever turn that down?
Yeah, it's like life's too short, go out and live it while you can, sort of thing.
And it's refreshing as well for that sort of companion family dynamic, because with, you know, Mickey and Jackie, for example, they're, you know, although they come to sort of love the Doctor as well, there is that sort of element where they'd rather just have Rose safe. Martha's family outright just doesn't like the Doctor, especially Francine, you know, and a lot of that is because of the manipulation of the Harold Saxon stuff. But just to have Wilf there and just have him so, like, just a very wholesome. He reminds me a lot of my granddad, to be honest, and I think that plays a part in it, to be honest, because there's so many similarities between the two of them. You know, from the sort of like optimism side of things, you know, I think I don't know what else to say. I mean, if you don't think Bernard Cribbins deserves to go best, then, you know, your opinion is wrong.
Same, Karen Gillan as Amy Pond, though. I'm not sure. I'm tempted to put this in meh.
I was going to say that.
She done, obviously, the Star Whale episode. Beast Below. She made a boo-boo in that, and the Doctor's like, oh, you still chose, you screwed up. And it was like threatening to kick a robe and stuff. And then she has that whole thing when she tries to jump on the Doctor's weenus while she's engaged to Rory, might I add. He gets done dirty.
And it's never mentioned again.
Yeah, no,
there's a bit of a mention in Vampires of Venice, but after that it's like, oh, a bit of adultery, who cares?
The Doctor's been like, yes, I snogged your fiancée. She was great. That thing keeps me keeping her down a bit, to be fair.
I think Amy Pond is possibly the most overrated, with the exception of one other person on this list. I think, well, two really, the most overrated companion.
Oh, we're going to piss off Who Culture, aren't we?
I couldn't give a toss.
Hi, Who Culture.
Yeah, as if they're watching. Yeah, I think...
Just put it down, put the thumbnail as River Song Bad.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. Spoilers. I think Karen Gillan is a great actress, and, you know, she's proven that by going on to do many, many great things post-Doctor Who. She's probably had the most successful post-Doctor Who career of any companion so far.
Yeah, she's in Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers films.
Yeah,
she's done Jumanji.
The horror film that she was in that was alright.
She's in some rom-com thing now, chick flick shit.
Yeah. But I think Karen Gillan, and as a personality, you can see Karen Gillan's quite bubbly, and you think, oh, she'll be great as a companion. And then they just give Amy, they make her very sarky, she's very confrontational, she's very, I think the treatment of Rory is just horrendous. Dreadful the entire time, until the very, very end, where she finally decides to let go of the Doctor and actually spend her life with her husband. Wow, what a mad thing to do. What a quirky, and she's ginger, meh.
Yeah, meh.
Rory
Williams, great.
Fair enough. I like Rory. I think Rory is almost quite underrated in a way. I think, again, he's another one with quite an interesting arc of going through the sort of being there. There is an argument that there's a little bit of sort of like rehashing the Rose, Mickey, Doctor stuff. But this time I think the sort of triangle is more prominent, because obviously Rose and Mickey very clearly sort of break up in Boomtown. That's done in the water then, and there's still that sort of, you know, there's a bit of mutual love for each other there, but nothing like this. But these are a couple, and I think Rory's development, going from being sort of like quite anti-Doctor, quite like, oh, I don't want any of this, to being, you know, a sort of not an unwilling traveller, but he sort of gets into it and he finds his feet and then dies and then dies and then dies and then dies. And by the end of it, he's very capable. I like the fact that he's not ashamed to stand up to the Doctor and put him in his place. Yeah. And he calls him up quite early on, really, if you think about it. In Vampires of Venice, which is his first TARDIS trip, you know, he has that great moment where he's like, you have no idea how dangerous you make people to themselves when you're around. You know, that sort of stuff is great. And Arthur Darvill's, you know, a very good actor in his own right as well.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed his work throughout his entire run. As you said, his development over the series was great.
River Song gets on my nerves. I think the idea, again, is like far better than the execution was, because River Song becomes very Flanderized by the end. I think the earlier appearances, I think Series 5, and Series 4, that's all quite cool because there's still that sort of enigma around here. And then she comes back in Series 6 and it's almost like it's a different character. She's very overtly sexualized in a way that sort of becomes, it doesn't even feel like it's worthy. It just becomes like Moffat's writing, like Moffat one-handedly writing women. And he's just sort of, she's very much like, oh, don't worry, I'm quite the screamer and all of that sort of stuff. And you just think, well, we're talking about like an alien incursion here, like world-ending stuff, and you're on about how you are in bed. Do you know what I mean? Like there is a time and a place. She has those great scenes with like when she's unlocking that door with Rory, where she says, oh, there's a far worse day coming for me, and the stuff in Angel Take Manhattan. But again, it's the slapping of the Doctor, which I hate. I just hate seeing that in any sort of TV show. I've talked about it millions of times. It just does my head in. It really, really does. I just think, again, Alex Kingston, great actress. Not her fault in the slightest. It's just the way they took the character and used her almost too much. And, there's sometimes you think, why are you even here? Like, Name of the Doctor, she doesn't even interact with the Doctor apart from like a couple of lines at the end. You just think, why are you even here?
I feel if she had harder scenes throughout her time, and we see that development, we learn more about her past and what she's gone through, instead of just this like, oh, every time I want something out of some male figure, I'm just gonna spread him. Effectively, it's just like if there was something just a bit deeper to that, where you could learn to feel for the character then, and what they've gone through, and just have some understanding of this is why they are the way they are now.
Yeah, I think it becomes a bit tonal whiplashy in a way.
Sometimes. That's just all this is lacking for me from bumping it up from meh. I would say
meh. Fair enough.
No, if you feel bad or whatever, we can hash it out.
I feel like bad needs. There are other people for bad later on. Brian Williams, again, not really sure if he really counts as a companion, being in 2 episodes.
He has travelled in the TARDIS, though.
Yeah, I suppose. But
the stuff we did with the cube was funny. Yeah. It was very Arthur Weasley.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. They've cast Mark Williams and gone, can you just be Arthur Weasley, but like not a wizard, and just be a dad? Yeah. Just not a magic dad.
Yeah, that is what they've done.
I don't really have any major feelings on him either way, I'll be honest. I like Arthur. I like Arthur Weasley. I was going to say, I like Mark Williams as an actor, but I can't really bring myself to give any sort of opinion either way.
No, chuck it in there then.
Meh, he is. Oh, now we get to the Paternoster Gang. Oh, give me strength. Can we just speedrun these?
Okay, but we're going to...
Vastra, where?
Meh.
Jenny.
Meh.
Okay.
Hang on.
Strax.
Great.
What, you having a laugh?
No, I love Strax. He's great.
You having a laugh?
No, I genuinely love Strax.
We've done it. We finally found one of those things we both vehemently disagree on. What are you talking about?
He's great. I just like this little cheap little gags. Oh, thank you very much for the directions, Thomas. Like, I just find I've got a very warped sense of humour, but then it's just the simple slapstick stuff for me as well. I love it. The way he is just he's great. Wow. It's just his personality, like that stuff in The Name of the Doctor, where he stops he's having like a full on scrap, and then he's like, hang on a second, I got to go to a meeting. It's just good fun.
Maybe I'm just a miserable bastard then, but I can't stand Strax. Every time he wants to be on screen, I want to render myself unconscious. It's just the Flanderizing of the Sontarans. Like, I know the Sontarans have always been a little bit funny in a weird way, because they're like, oh, look at these short kings with blasters, whatever. But I don't know. There's just some things that just don't, like, the fact that they just pay out to be completely stupid at every single point. It's like, oh, listen to me, boy, and it's like, yeah, okay, we get it. Strax is from sort of like a clone thing. There is only one gender on Sontar, but if he's been living amongst humans, you'd think he would do a little bit of research just to try and blend in as well as you can when you bring Potato Head. But I find him really irritating. And this isn't like Dan Starkey, because I think Dan Starkey's great at Sontarans, you know. There's a reason he plays the majority of the Sontarans in the new series. But I just can't stand Strax. I'm sorry.
Put him where you want. I'll turn a blind eye.
No, because you'll hate me. You want him in great. So how about we compromise? Because I was going to put him in bad. Should we put him in bad?
Yeah, we'll put him in there.
Okay, well, then can I put Jenny in bad then?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Because Jenny just doesn't really do anything.
No, she dies, and that's about as fun as it gets.
She doesn't even die, though. She comes back to life.
Yeah, true.
Her thing is, I've got a sword, and I'm a lesbian. That's going to be taken out of context somewhere, isn't it?
James Corden.
It's just James Corden, isn't it? Fair enough.
Yeah, stay in America.
Yeah. You can have him, American listeners. We don't want him. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. Let him finish the Gavin and Stacey finale.
Yeah.
And then
yes,
fuck him off.
Yeah.
Clara bloody Oswald. Oh Jesus, this is going to be a polarizing one.
So I can already tell by your tone where that's going.
Where do you want to put Clara?
If we're going off her stuff, obviously we've got to go off her entire run.
Yes, that would help.
For me, it's a mixed one, really. Series 7B, I thought she was great. A bit of the flirty stuff with the Doctor and stuff. Series 8, especially towards the end, it got very much too cocky the way Rose did.
But it's dialed up to 11.
Yeah, it's worse, even. And then you get that through Series 9, and then you get to Face the Raven, and you see her get the consequences for being the way she was with Capaldi. And then, yeah, so it's just... I'd put it in meh, because I can't really... I would put I would put Clara in meh, because, I mean, there's some great moments, but then you've got Series 8.
I don't like Clara. I like Jenna Coleman as an actress. I think she's very good. She's done great stuff since Doctor Who. She will continue to do great stuff. I like the idea of the sort of the toxic relationship and what that can be. But just because I like the idea doesn't mean I enjoy sitting through 2 series of this Doctor Companion dynamic that I just can't get on board with. I can't get invested in it. I like what they're doing. I think if they'd have condensed Series 8 and 9 into one series and just sort of sped that process up a bit, I think it would have felt a lot more rewarding. But the fact that Clara has like 3 different exits, you know...
Oh, no, she could be written off at the end of Series 7, at the end of...
Series 8?
Midway through Series 7, Series 8, and then she does bite the bullet in Series 9, thank God. And then still comes back at the end of Series 10.
Yeah, I think... if they condense, like I said, I like the idea of it. It just goes on far too long, and it just feels really drawn out, and by the end of it, I'm just bored. I'm waiting for Clara to go so we can get that sense of fresh air with Bill. I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan. I think I like her with the 11th Doctor, but that's the thing. Her thing is more, she feels more of a plot device in Series 7. Because people are like, oh, it's a bit of a character shift. She does a bit of like, it feels like a different character, and it does, but then I don't really see much of a character with Clara before. There are hints of it. I think you can tell that she enjoys taking charge when the Doctor's off doing something else. You see that a lot in Nightmare in Silver. I'm not enamoured with Clara, and I know some people sort of think she's the best companion ever, and other people really hate her. For me, I'd go bad.
Yeah, no, that's fair. We'll chuck her in bad.
If we're putting Clara in bad, can we put Strax in bad?
No, I like Strax.
Okay, if it was up to me, Strax would be in bad and come at me. What the fuck are you going to do?
Danny Pink.
Bad.
Yeah.
Cool.
He doesn't get a lot to do. He's just... I mean... The stuff with Listen and his romance with Clara was interesting at points, and seeing that clash with him and the Doctor having to deal with the fact that Doctor keeps stealing Clara away to go off around the world and around the universe and that. It's an interesting position to be put into, but it feels like they've sped up the Mickey process.
Yeah, I don't know. I sort of would agree with you there. I just don't really find him very likeable. I think he's a bit irritating. What's the actor's name? Samuel Anderson. His best performance in the show is when he's not playing Danny Pink in Listen, when he's that sort of scared astronaut at the end of the universe. That's all really cool, but he's not on the tier list. Danny Pink is, and I just find Danny nerve-sheddingly irritating. Even at the end, did you know he was a soldier?
No, I don't think they mentioned it.
Yeah, he's a soldier, in case you weren't paying attention.
Wouldn't mind us some Vietnam flashbacks, to be fair. Just to flesh it out a bit.
We did get the Vietnam flashbacks.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't Vietnam, but yeah, we got flashbacks to him in the military, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's what sort of has, in that horrible Series 8 finale, which when we get to is going to be like probably one of the rantiest videos we've ever done. But we'll come around to it eventually. The randomizer will throw it at us at some point.
I hope not.
Oh, it will. And that's irritating. Nardole.
Great.
Okay. That was, you were very determined with that. This is going to upset so many people, I can't wait. Nardole in great. Why do you want to put Nardole in great? Not that I'm questioning you.
So, after the whole Clara stuff, he's that comedic, fresher breath air that I think the series needed at the time. He was a lot of fun throughout his run with Capaldi. There were some irritating bits, I will admit, but then he was always a good laugh to have around. His little quibs and jokes and stuff did always make me chuckle. And he had a lot of development, and then choosing to stay to explode effectively, wanting to stay and explode to save the people as well. You really see him come so far away from being that coward that he was in Husbands of River Song.
Yeah.
He's grown leaps and bounds throughout his story, and it's just incredible. It's a good arc for me.
The ghost from Return of Dr. Mysterio. I mean, whatever. Who cares? Why is he even there?
Bad.
Yeah,
just because we got too much in there.
Just because I don't particularly. No. I like the Return of Dr. Mysterio, but not because of the ghost. I just think it's a fun little episode.
For me, it was just so nice to have Doctor Who back.
Yeah,
after so long, it was just I was so excited. I didn't care what the episode was like. I just wanted to see Doctor Who back on my screen.
Yeah.
So
Bill Potts goes in.
Great.
Okay.
Oh,
I was tempted. I am tempted to make a case for go. I think the only thing is with Bill, we don't see enough of her. She's only there for that one series. I mean, no, Martha's only one series, and Wilf's only there and stuff. But yeah, for me, Bill, I like Bill a lot because she's such a breath of fresh air after the staleness of the Doctor and Clara. Series 10 does feel like this is a new series. It does feel, which is weird to do as the last series of an era, but I love Series 10. I really do. I think it's Moffat's best series.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I used to sort of think 5, like Matt Smith's first, might just pip it, but honestly, after going through them all again recently, like last year, I do much prefer Series 10. I think Series 10's stronger as a whole. It's only got 2 sort of duds for me, whereas Series 5 was got 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah, the only duds in this Eaters of Light and Empress of Mars.
Yeah, 100%. I think the Monk trilogy is really underrated. I think
I agree
it's got a bit of a crappy ending, but overall, I think... And I like Bill because she's not afraid to just sort of... I don't think she's very much the sort of questions first kind of. She's the curiosity in that, that she's got that sort of curiosity about her, which lots of companions didn't, because they sort of all become too
used to it.
Like Clara's there for ages. It feels like Clara's there for years, and she is there for years. She's there for about 4 years, really, if you think about it. And that's just like in our time. God knows what it's like in universe. And Amy and Rory, sort of the whole thing is that they jump and they're there for 10 years from their points, and nothing really phases them. So to have Bill as this sort of wide-eyed, curious, I don't know. I just find it quite relatable.
Yeah, no,
she feels very real. She feels like a real person. She feels like someone that you would know, especially because this series was just before I went to uni, and then going to uni, you sort of feel, although Bill's not a student or whatever, she's got that sort of, I don't know. I just find I can relate to Bill a lot more than I can a lot of other companions in this list.
Bill was the breath of fresh air the series needed after everything in terms of Doctor and companion relationship. Again, it was very much a platonic love, which is the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah.
You and I have never really been a fan of the Doctor romance.
Yeah, it comes to something
humans.
The best one I think he works with is River, because of the fact that she's not constantly there. I think the domestic stuff doesn't, the domestic stuff is for the companions.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that, there's no... I think people complained a lot at the time that Bill's like, well, her only thing is that she's gay, and it's like, No, it's not. It's just
She's so much more.
So much like surface level Bill. Like she's, people like she mentions it all the time. I'm like, no, she doesn't really.
She mentions it at the end.
She mentions it when it sort of needs to be, like when that guy in Knock has hit on her, and she's like, no, I'm not into you, mate, I'm gay. It's not like a big thing of like, no, I am a lesbian. And it's just this sort of, she just feels like a real person, and there's so much more to Bill in terms of like this sort of curiosity about the universe and the curiosity around the Doctor. Like when I think of Bill, I think of that sort of curious.
Yeah, and like Thin Ice as well was a massive point for Bill again as a character,
having that conflict early on as well.
Yeah, it's like 3 episodes in.
Yeah.
And she's having that issue when the Doctor's there, like, you got to stop talking now, and then thumps the bloke for being horrendous to Bill.
Yeah.
And you need that, and it's just like it was needed. It was really well done. It really helped Bill as a character. It helped the Doctor and Bill's dynamic on screen as well. Yeah, though. I can see why.
A very tragic ending. I think the only thing is, I think as much as happy as I am that she goes off with Heather and becomes the sort of co-pilot,
you'd rather her stay dead?
I wouldn't, no, because it sounds horrible saying that. I don't want her dead, but I think that the dramatic weight that has on the story is so good, and just to have the balls to kill her off like that and convert her into a Cyberman, and then have her die as a Cyberman. It's just horrific to have to who is one of the sweetest characters I think we've had in Doctor Who. I just think that's so horrific and so brilliant and so warped. That really just, sort of soy sauces my noodles. And I really like Bill. That's all I've got to say.
Oh, I definitely agree with you there. She was great in her run, and I'm just going to straight up say it, like, as much as I loved her as a character, it would have been a lot more impactful had she stayed dead as a Cyberman, having died twice in 2 episodes.
Yeah, this is what I mean. I think that the Clara stuff should have been Series 8, and that should, Series 8 and 9, the thematic stuff of that should have been condensed into one series. Series 9, then you get 2 series with Bill and Nardole.
Oh, I don't. I think the Cyberman issue after 2 seasons would have been a lot harder hitting.
Exactly, but that's what makes it work.
Yeah. Missy. Hey, Missy, you're so fine, you blow my mind, go bad. No, I don't know.
Again, this is just going to be me being a Series 10 defender. I only like Missy towards the end of Series 10. And
the redemption arc, yeah.
I cannot stand her in Series 8 and 9. I don't know what the hype was about. It's the whole sort of kooky, we're going to do John Sim, but turned up to 11 as the Master. And it's like, we don't need to do this every single time. Like, do something different. I think Michelle Gomez would have been fine as the more menacing. And in the quieter moments, she's great. But it's all sort of like coming down on the umbrella and sort of like tickling the Daleks' balls and being like, ooh, running around while that Dalek's shooting in the cave. And it's so jarring and so great, and it does my head in.
I forgot she tickled the Daleks' balls.
Yeah, and it's all of that sort of
Lucky Dalek.
She just talks bollocks half the time as well. And she's like, I'm going to need 8 snipers. Oh, I'm speaking to you out of TVs. I've stopped all of the planes. It's like, just pick up the phone, you mentalist.
Yeah, it does get quite jarring. I feel after, it was fun I say fun. It was tolerable in Series 8. But then you get to this finale and it's just all gone to shit. But it was only tolerable in Series 8 because you'd only see her when someone died, which wasn't every episode. I know it was.
It was most episodes, but I could sort of understand that because it's part of the series arc. When I say Series 8, I mean like the finale and the sort of the whole pretending to be the service robot thing, and then it's like, oh, I couldn't very well keep calling myself the Master. I was like, well, you could, but okay, fine, fair enough, I get it, it's done for the twist. And then, like, you get that Series 9, she's in that the opening 2-part, which I think is dog shit, those first 2 episodes of Series 9. They are horrific. I hate them so much. There's not one single thing I think I actually like about that 2-part, apart from when it finishes. She's just there. There's no reason for it to be there other than the fact that, the Doctor's gone missing. Cool, he does that all the time. Clara's used to that. Like, what? And the whole first episode is just setting up all of this nonsense anyway. It doesn't actually start until the last 5 minutes. And I just don't. And then we get the vault stuff in Series 10, where it's, I will say one flaw of Series 10, it's obvious that it's Missy in the vault, and I'm glad that we nailed that early. we did that. We explained that in episode 6 rather than doing that in like episode 10, for example, and dragging it out. And that redemption arc stuff is great. And I like the idea of having John Sims' master there, so that he becomes like the sort of devil on his shoulder, sort of between the Doctor and the master, sort of like, this is who she could be, but this is who she was. Which way is she going to go? Blah blah blah. That all works.
And the constant, like with her character as well, you see those bits of just constant jumping between the two. So you got at the start of the Doctor Falls, you got John Sim and Missy working together and plotting ways to kill the Doctor, and then she knocks out John Sim's master and saves the Doctor, and then they go back to that constant flirting around and bouncing off each other. Then, oh, the Doctor's right. We should stay and fight. We should help these people. Yeah, it's the right thing to do.
And then she
gets killed for it.
Yeah, that stuff is great. I really like Missy in the last in that last episode, because even at the start of World Enough and Time, I do find myself cringing where she's doing the whole "I'm Doctor Who" and doing the dabbing and everything.
That was weird.
It was just like, oh yeah.
That was very strange.
Yeah. That brings us then on to our Chibnall era gang, our fam. Dan's not here,
but he is in best.
Dan, probably for a laugh. Imagine Dan's in best. Ryan Sinclair, just bad, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not scum. He doesn't have enough to do to be scum.
Scum is reserved for my personal beef with certain people. Ryan, the thing is with Ryan is that he's the one that gets he's the main focus, really, that relationship between Graham and Ryan. I need to say it again. Graham and Ryan, that dynamic is basically forms the series arc of Series 7, which is fine, but Tosin Cole can't do a Yorkshire accent, and it shows, and it's like, why not just either cast someone from Yorkshire or get someone that can do a Yorkshire accent? Why is just Tosin Cole just here? Because I think Tosin Cole's gone on to do some stuff. He's in that new series recently, which is supposed to have gone down quite well, I think, whatever it's called. I haven't seen it yet. Don't know. I'm so behind on so many different things. But yeah, there's just not enough there. He just sort of kind of feels like the thing is with the Chibnall era companions, especially in series 11 and 12, they're just functions. Like, Ryan is I'm the sort of more nervous, questioning one. Yaz is the more, yes, Doctor, anything you say, Doctor, and then Bradley Walsh is the comic relief.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
They're just so divided into that, and 3 companions is too much for a full-time thing. I just don't really get. I've never really been a fan of Ryan, and I can't even think of that many. I like the little bit he has in his last episode where he's talking to the Doctor and sort of being like, but you are who you are now, and why does that matter and everything, and she's saying like, oh, you wear a yellow beanie, I'm not many men that can put off a yellow beanie, and it's like, what is this? Stop ruining it. Yeah. You're doing so well. Bradley Walsh is just playing Bradley Walsh the entire time. Like, he's not being a character, really. He's being Bradley himself. Walsh. And he's doing it fine, but it's not of any substance, really.
No, and again, it's another character that gets done dirty by the Doctor, especially in Can You Hear Me?
Yeah, that really frustrates the hell out of
me. It's just
now.
That whole thing where he's divulging such a deep part of his life and to the Doctor, and she goes, oh, I'm just socially awkward. It's just like, no, just console him. If he's your friend, be there for him. Yeah. He gets done dirty in this, and I think there was a lot of potential for Graham, especially starting off series 11 with him losing his wife, and him and Ryan. Like, again, potential for him and Ryan to be really, really strong characters, having to go through that together, learn to deal with that together. Obviously, there's going to be that conflict from Ryan to Graham, because now Ryan's lost his both his grandparents biologically, and he's just got Graham there trying to almost fill the role. I guess he's got to deal with that conflict and stuff. They could have done so much better with that and made them very likeable characters.
What it is that I think that all comes to a head and it takes you away where he finally calls him Grandad, and then we still get another episode of the series where then Graham just does like a 180 and he's like, I'm going to murder this bloke, Doctor, if I find him, I'm going to kill him. And you're like, whoa, hang on, what? Yeah. And, there is that sort of expansion of but even then there's still that awkwardness between the two of them. Even in the last episode where like Graham's going for a fist bump and he's like, stop being so weird. It's like, what? Just go on with it. But yeah, those are my... Yaz doesn't do anything really for me until Flux. I can't even think of many things. She has the sort of Can You Hear Me stuff, but I try to forget that episode even exists.
She's useless and everything else. She's just literally there running around after the Doctor. You get the tease of the stuff in the Legend of the Sea Devils after Flux as well, which has obviously been going on for a fucking while. Which is teased all through series 3, to be fair, of their run, their third series.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like Yaz in Flux just because it feels like, because the sort of focus is now shifted onto her, and you do get that feeling that there has been a good, like a fair passage of time between Ryan and Graham leaving and it just being the Doctor and Yaz, and that's where these feelings have started to develop really like a lot. And she gets to sort of like, Dan becomes basically her companion through Flux, you know. And she becomes, because I rewatched Flux recently and I enjoyed it. I did. I still think it falls apart in those last 2 episodes, but I had a lot of fun with episodes 1 to 4, and I think I always will.
Village of the Angels is up there with one of the best Angels episodes.
It's definitely better than the other ones that have come before. It's the second best after Blink, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I
made him a threat again.
Yeah, I just think that Yaz, it just because it takes so long for Yaz to actually become like into her own, and that's not part of her character. That's just part of the way that she's been presented. She becomes, I was a police officer, so I can put people in arm bars and stuff like that, and you know, and just sort of run around going, yes, Doctor, anything you say, I respect authority. Blah 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 blah. Then we sort of get the bombshell that she's had like mental health issues and was running away, and sort of implied to be that she was running away forever. But that never gets mentioned post-episode, and there's no hints of it before that I can see. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I just don't know. I think I don't want to put her in bad because I'm looking at the other people in bad, and I would rather watch her.
She is better than...
She's better than everyone we've got in bad.
Yeah.
So she's going to have to go in meh. Ruby Sunday. I love Ruby. That's it.
He is literally in love with Ruby Sunday.
I think I can't put her in the best because we've not seen all of it.
No.
She's still stop it. Take this smut today has been unbelievable.
We haven't seen all of her character in the show so far.
Yeah, you know, her story isn't over, so I don't feel like I could put her in best because of that. I do really... I mean, there is a bit of sort of going back into this now, especially after rewatching Series 1 for our wrap-up thing. There is a bit of an element of like, is this a little bit forced, this like Bezzy mate thing? Because there's no sort of conflict or anything. I think we should have had that at some point. That's the sort of thing that kind of stops me because I haven't seen what she's like. But that could happen next year. We don't know. What I've seen so far is that Ruby's very fun. She's got that sort of Bill curiosity to her, but a bit more sort of grounded, I think. She's got, you know, I mean, the mystery box thing was a load of rubbish, but we've ranted about that enough anyway. I think Millie Gibson and Ncuti Gatwa have just got that electric chemistry that we were talking about before. Just an all-round solid companion. There's not much more I can really... I feel like I should have done more because I was very determined to put her in great. But I just think that...
Until we've seen the rest of her story completed.
And I don't want to put her in Mare because Mare is nearly full and we're going to have to address that in a minute. But
yeah.
I think I'm just a fan of Ruby Sunday.
Oh, she was good. It was a really nice dynamic they had on screen. It's definitely been one of the better companions of New Who by far. But yeah, until she's kind of gone for good, and we assess her run as a whole.
It's okay. I know she's going. There's no need to get upset. It's all right. It's okay. I feel the same. It's okay.
I had a hiccup. Yeah, until we've assessed her run as a whole, I don't think we can have a conversation for best yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, there could be something that completely brings her down.
Yeah, imagine she just turns up next week and just starts punching orphans or something. It'd be awful. I don't know why I just was punching orphans. We've come back to this now. We've rearranged. We've decided to put Noel Clarke and Bruno Langley in Scum because they look like some very scumbaggy type people. I've just got a feeling about them. And I've also read the news. Lady Christina's a Tory. James Corden is James Corden. So yeah, and then our best is quite biased, really. I mean, can I put? Do you know what? I'm putting Bill Potts in great. I don't give a fuck.
No, that's fair.
In best, Bill Potts is the best. Now we've got to pick one, as we always do. The best Doctor Who companion of the modern era.
As in whole story in modern era, or
just out of the 5 that we've got here in the best, who will we putting in?
I had the most fun watching Catherine Tate as Donna. Even in the 60th specials, that felt like childhood Doctor Who for me. It brought back that childhood feeling of, oh my god, Doctor Who's back. Yeah, for me, Catherine Tate as Donna is the best of the best.
I'd be inclined to agree with you. If you forced me to pick a different one, I'd pick Sarah, because I'm a classic Who fanboy as well. I think that's pretty solid. I mean, I say it's pretty solid. People of this are going to be spitting feathers because we've put River Song not like on a fucking pedestal above everyone else, and we've not put bloody Nardole in bad or whatever. I don't care. We can do what we like. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back in a fortnight's time. Please, like Tom said, like, share and subscribe. It means the world to us, and it stops us from crying ourselves to sleep at night in each other's arms. That's a fanfic nobody needs.
I'm Big Spoon.
He wishes.